And I've said before, I'm never going to look at a good team and a tough schedule and go, they're done, or a bad team and an easy schedule and go, oh, they'll be a playoff team. But I do every year look at the schedule and I modify and alter my win-loss total. That's why yesterday I gave out my NFL standings pre-schedule. And this morning, there's 4 or 5 teams, one in particular. I'm going to add 2 wins to one team and subtract 2 from another team because I felt the schedules were that advantageous. So let me just start with 2 teams that I think got the raw end of the deal with the schedule. And I didn't love this team anyway, Cincinnati, but they got no breaks. No OTAs, young coach, rookie quarterback, forced to play, a dubious offensive line, and the Cincinnati Bengals have to face 6 of the top 7 pass rushes with a rookie quarterback and a truncated camp. Chargers, Browns, at Cleveland, at Philadelphia, at Baltimore, at Indy, and Browns again. So of the 6 of the 7 tough games, 4 are on the road. At Cleveland, at Philly, at Baltimore, at Indy, that's got now DeForest Buckner. Brutal. And then the end of the season, they face 3 teams that'll probably be vying for playoff spots. The Steelers, the Texans, and the Ravens. Little softer in the middle, but this is an overwhelming schedule. They got one give me early, Jacksonville. They didn't get Miami when they could use them. They didn't get the Giants or Washington. They buried those. The team will already be buried. This is a bad break for a team that's going to start a rookie quarterback, and we're dealing with a virus, and we don't know how much prep time he'll get. And, it's funny about this because, it's just tough division. Rookie's got to start. Brutal schedule. Young head coach. Brutal. And Bengal fans, I'm a hater because I had them at 5-11. Fox Bet has them favored in 1 game this year. So if it stays true to form, they're 1-15. I don't think they're that bad, but I literally looked at that schedule, and I reduced the number of wins. I had Cincinnati at 5-11, got a ton of negative feedback on that, like I was delusional. They haven't won a playoff game since 91. The team they beat no longer exists, the Houston Oilers. So to me, I would put them now at 3 or 4 wins. We'll talk about that top of next hour when I redo my standings. Here's another team. So you think, I just hate Joe Burrow. Here's another team. I'm going to downgrade wins. Sam Darnold, I love him. New York Jets. Brutal. So here's a team that's rebuilding their offensive line through the draft and free agency. Look at the Jets' first 7 weeks. Bills defense, Niners pass rush, Colts pass rush, Denver, Bradley Chubb, Von Miller, Chargers pass rush, Buffalo again. Oh, they get a break then. They get to go to Kansas City. That is, to me, the toughest schedule in the NFL. It lightens up later, but for a team that is, they don't even know their tackles yet. A rookie left tackle, a second-year right tackle, maybe, a brand-new center. This is not the way the New York Jets needed the schedule to work out. So the Bengals, I'll reduce some wins. Jets, I may reduce them 2 wins. Top of the hour, I'll talk about the new schedule. I've changed it up. We'll get to it in 45 minutes. Now, on the opposite end, these are teams I liked, and I don't know if it makes me think they'll win more, but it confirms the fears I had about my prediction. So, take San Francisco 49ers. Scheduling break. Now, I got them winning, 11 games anyway. But Super Bowl losing teams, Joey and I, we've talked about this before, there can be a little bit of a hangover, especially like Atlanta. When you lose a Super Bowl that you should have won and you lose a lead and everybody questions your moxie and you come out the next year flat. That's what Atlanta did. San Francisco, I worry about that, but they got a scheduling break. So the first 3 teams they play are all rebuilding their offensive lines. Arizona, the Jets, and the Giants. With San Francisco's defensive front being the strength of the team, they even drafted another defensive lineman in the first round. That's a break. That is a break. That you could not play well and just simply overwhelm young, auditioning offensive lines. Then after that, they get 3 straight home games Philly, Miami, Rams, all at home. So they get weaker teams, got to travel for a couple. The tougher games they get at home, rebuilding offensive lines, rebuilding teams, young head coaches, new staffs, young quarterbacks. I don't know if it makes me think San Francisco wins more games, but it reassures me on little concerns I had about San Francisco having a Super Bowl hangover. Here is a second team. Again, I have Cleveland winning 9 games and becoming a playoff team. I wanted to see the schedule to reaffirm, because I thought it could fall 2 different ways. I liked the way it fell for Cleveland. So at Baltimore, sucks as an opener. There's no getting around that. That is a tough opener. But after that, Cleveland gets the opposite of last year. They get an early scheduling break. Cincinnati, Washington at home, 2 rebuilding rosters. Cleveland's not a rebuilding roster. Then after that, for the next 6 or so weeks, they get really average defensive teams as they break in new tackles, a new coach and a new system, a new tight end. Dallas defense, Cincinnati defense, Raider defense, Texans defense, and then there's a bye in there. So unlike last year, where they went through a 5 or 6 week stretch early in the season last year, 5 out of 6 weeks where they faced like elite defensive coordinators, elite coaches, elite pass rushes. This schedule, they get to face a couple of rebuilding teams early and then softer defenses. You know, Dallas doesn't have an elite pass rush. Cincinnati's pretty good on the interior of the defensive line, but they had to go bring in new players defensively because they were lousy last year. Raiders can't stop anybody. Houston's got all sorts of secondary issues. So, again, I thought for Cleveland, it confirms what I believed a week ago, which is if the schedule falls right, Baker's going to tighten it up. This is a playoff team. So, Bengals, Jets, I'm subtracting wins. Niners, Browns, I don't necessarily think they get additional wins, but they got a scheduling break. It kind of falls in their favor. Because I do think with Cleveland, when you have a new coach, you come off a rough year, it's easy for people to bail. You know, you go 0-4 again this year, you're going to get, you know, OBJ, don't kid yourself. You can lose guys in the locker room fast. So I thought Cleveland and San Francisco got breaks. It's good to have you. Now, top of next hour, Dave Wanstead will stop by to talk about some thoughts Jim Harbaugh had about college football. Plus, as a former Bear and Dolphin head coach, do you look at the schedules with your personnel? Do you get some breaks? And, you know, Andy Reid was funny yesterday. I mean, Kansas City's going to win a bunch of games. I don't worry about them. But I thought Kansas City got a little bit of a break, and Andy picked up on it immediately. They play the Florida teams later in the year, so it's not a sauna. And they have a very good vertical passing game in Kansas City. They play a lot of the cold weather teams early, like at Buffalo, at Baltimore early, at Denver early, where instead of a 30-mile-an-hour wind and snow and low visibility, it could be warm and sunny in Denver, Buffalo in September, early October. So I do believe, Andy Reid talked about it yesterday, I do believe they're scheduling breaks. Maybe this, to me, I swear to God, Tom Brady's got an angel on his shoulder because I thought Tampa got multiple breaks in their schedule. Multiple breaks in their schedule. We'll talk about that coming up. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. I think they got a break. Whereas San Francisco and Cleveland got schedules that benefit them, I don't think it changes their record necessarily. I'm going to give Tampa one more win off their schedule. So the first thing I look at is, they face the Saints in New Orleans. Ooh! But for some reason, nobody can explain it. The Saints aren't great in their home opener. 1-4 in the last 5 and could have lost their only win. Then it is a really interesting schedule break. They're learning a new offense. It could have been brutal. They could have had Aaron Rodgers week 2, Patrick Mahomes, Sean McVay and Goff have worked together, Kirk Cousins. There was a lot of little landmines here where you could have faced quarterbacks who are efficient, who have been with the same coach for years, who have more firepower, but it didn't work out that way for Tom. Instead, after the Saints, they get Carolina. New coach, new system, new quarterback. Denver. They don't even know if their franchise quarterback is their franchise quarterback. Chargers. Tyrod Taylor, new quarterback. Chicago. Hell, is it Trubisky or Nick Foles? They get Green Bay at home, but now Tom's got 5 starts in. Then they go to the Raiders and the Giants, 2 really weak defenses. This is a scheduling break. Now, I do think the Rams and the Chiefs in November are tough, but Tom's got half a season already in the books. So he's got no cold weather games here. That's a break because I think weaponry and perimeter stars are the strength of their team. No cold, blustery road games or home games, right? Secondly, I think he's got some tough quarterbacks to face here. But in the first 2 months, it is mostly Teddy Bridgewater, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Tyrod Taylor, Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles. That, to me, is a scheduling break. They also get a scheduling break in Tampa late in the season. Hear me out on this. So at the end of the season, I have respect for Atlanta. They've burned me so many times, I'm worn out from them, as Joey and I often laugh. I always like Atlanta more, and every time I do, they burn me, and when I don't like them, whatever. They play Matt Ryan twice in the last 3 weeks. Here's why it's important. Matt Ryan's good. Dan Quinn could have gone either way, right? Could have been fired. Atlanta faces the Saints at the end of the year twice, November 22nd and December 6th. New Orleans is better than Atlanta. If the Saints beat Atlanta, both those games, if you look at Atlanta's schedule, they're probably out of the playoffs. And Dan Quinn is a lame duck head coach. Tom gets them twice late. If Tampa's as good as I think, eyeing the playoffs and seeding, gaining momentum with Tom, Bruce Arians, and the young weapons, and Atlanta's done. They're cooked. Coach is done, lame duck. Out. It's a big break. Also, Matt Patricia is sandwiched in between. This is a bad team in a good division with Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago having better rosters. Better coaches, too. So I think they end... It's a break for them. 2 Atlantas and a Detroit. I don't think those teams, they'll have lame duck coaches and out of the playoff picture. So I thought Tom got a scheduling break. He got some of the more average new offensive systems and quarterbacks early as he's just fundamentally trying to figure out the offense and figuring out Tampa and Bruce Arians and all the young guys. So a break there for Tampa. Enough of one. I think I'm going to give them a win. I'm giving them an extra win. So there we go. Mike Mulvihill's in about 10 minutes, less than that. Fascinating how a network looks at the schedule compared to how we look at it as fans or broadcasters. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.